edition of the LA Shoulder Podcast. Surprise location. We're actually here in San Diego.
San Diego,
California.
There you go.
I'm here with my good friend, Greg Gomez, Dr. Gomez. So he's an orthopedic shoulder surgeon.
That's
your
right.
Shoulder specialist, shoulder and elbow. Shoulder and elbow. And we're here at the National Shoulder and Elbow Meeting in San Diego. So this is the 2025 meeting. We have this meeting every year, and you go every year?
Yeah, I go every year, yes.
So where's your practice? What's your practice like? Where are you set up?
So my practice is up in Los Angeles area, the San Gabriel Valley. So I am shoulder elbow surgeon, hospital employed.
Which hospital?
It's called Eminent Health. It's like kind of modeled after a Kaiser-esque type system, but we still can take outside insurances. But we have a lot of locked IPAs. So patients, we have kind of built-in patient network.
What's an IPA?
It's like your basic HMO healthcare plan.
Oh, so like a network of doctors, and they pay into that. I see. So so for example, I don't take HMO insurance because you have to be part of these HMO plans. And typically, when you have a private insurance, like a PPO plan, you can go and see whichever surgeon you want. So in network, out of network, as long as you have insurance, a lot of times you can get the care that you need.
Correct.
And that's the kind of unfortunate part is we don't really get good education on that as surgeons, is insurance or as consumers. You know, a lot of my patients don't really understand the whole insurance process. And when I was at Cedars, I was there for 5 years, so I was employed. I didn't really pay a lot of attention to it as long as people could get in and see me. But, now I'm paying a lot more attention to those things because it really does kind of dictate what kind of care you get, at least to that extent,
Sure.
who you can see.
Sure, exactly. Like even with pre-authorizations, like sometimes, I'll indicate a patient for like a rotator cuff repair with a subacromial decompression. These IPAs or HMOs, they'll approve both CPT codes 29827 and 29826, no problems. With the PPOs, because we still can see PPOs, they'll only approve the rotator cuff repair, but not the decompression, because per their literature that they have, even though I've done these peer-to-peers, like it's not indicated, we're not paying for it. So
right, they have surgeon reviewers, and so they'll look through the evidence, say we're not approving this. Correct. Sometimes you got to do peer-to-peers. Do you do those yourself?
I do it myself. Yes.
I find it helpful.
Yeah, because then you kind of, even though you're advocating for your patient, sure, and you want to get the CPT code approved, so you're not worrying about it on collections on the back end. It makes you more knowledgeable on how to talk to these patients, and then what you also need to put in your operative report.
Sure. Yeah, and I find being detailed with my operative report about specifically when I've completed that portion of the procedure, I say I've completed the biceps tenodesis, right? And so, because I know there's a lot of it's AI review now, so they just review your reports and then they'll flag things. Correct. So if you can make it easier for the machines, basically, for the reviewers, it's less likely to get onto those second level of authorization or peer-to-peer, whatever. But one thing that's nice as a sports surgeon is a lot of times we know what we're getting into when we repair things, right? We get an MRI, but sometimes you find new things when you get in there on the scope and you got to repair it.
Sure.
So the nice thing about what we do is there is sometimes an aspect of identifying these lesions at the time, and we say, well, we had to repair it, and then they'll usually approve those. Sure. Right? You do what's right for the patient. Absolutely. So even that's what the insurance companies believe too. You got to at least treat the patients, right? That's what we're paying for.
I mean, that's what we're all here, right?
So what do you like best about, do you like being a shoulder specialist? Do you like shoulder and elbow? Or do you feel, some people maybe say like, I feel a little limited because I'm doing the same kind of procedures maybe over and over, but I really like it. I find it's very diverse.
Even though you might, at the outside looking in, might seem limited, I agree. It's very diverse. No single rotator cuff repair is exactly the same. If my anchor's different spots, I double row, single row, may augment, may not. So it's very dynamic. And plus, with the patients that I treat, they're very blue collar, very thankful. They show up, they go from a pseudoparalytic shoulder to being able to elevate and do their day-to-days and go back to work, and they show up with like a plant or a bag of oranges from their yard, and they're just like so thankful. And that's awesome to me, and that goes way further than reimbursement, or sometimes I talk with the administration on how they should value us, and they're not the ones that are putting in the sweat, but they're also not the ones getting the hugs at the end of 1 year mark or whatever.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's important work. And I find that guiding patients through either an injury or through a bad problem. They really appreciate that.
I mean, that's a lot of pressure on you as a surgeon too. Yeah. You know, and then when you're in training, you'll probably agree. You're just there to learn. You're on a service for so many weeks or months, and then you move on. You don't have this long-term follow-up.
The continuity.
Exactly. Yeah. But then you don't. When you become the attending, you're responsible for not only the surgery, the patient. You're also looking at what the circulator is doing. If you have an assistant, the scrub tech, you're responsible for all. Like, still to this day, I'll show up in the morning for my 7:30 case. I show up at 7 o'clock, check the patient in, and I'll go straight to the operating room, make sure my beach chair is connected to the bed right.
The right way.
The right way, not just like half-assed, barely hanging on, because that happens and you catch it, you readjust it.
There was an attendant who used to say that's Jedi level.
Yeah,
I mean, you're doing that as Jedi. It means you care about every little detail, because you know that's gonna send the case off one way or the other, and we always want the best outcome. And I was going to ask you, what kind of transitions have you made, in private practice since fellowship? Have you made a lot of changes to either how you try? I know there's a lot of pressure coming in from where you take cases with implants, and so a lot of the implants are pretty much the same, but maybe some places saying, hey, don't put so many anchors in, and you're like, well, I trained this way, and so and so. So I've personally undergone several changes, especially with my sports procedures. I think that's changed a lot. My arthroplasties, I feel like my open procedures I've gotten a lot more confident and frankly better, in terms of like managing through the whole process of surgery. So, but I haven't really changed a lot of how I do total joint replacements. I've changed little parts of it.
Right.
What about you?
I've changed companies and what I use, from what I train to what I actually use. Gone through the learning curves, and then been able to, let me try something else, like more cutting edge, where new technologies advance. But I agree with the sports things, because a nice facet of where I'm employed in the hospital, I do have ownership in a surgical center that does want to be profitable. So they do talk to you about implant costs, et cetera. And you can go to these other companies that are still the bread and butter orthopedic companies, and they'll come in and they'll do like a surgical center price adjustment, just so you're using your stuff. Because I ultimately tell administration, like, listen, I'm not going to change what I think I should do for the patient, but if you tell me this case is too costly, we're going to lose money, then I'll just take it somewhere else that can do it, because I don't want to minimize what I think should be done.
Right. Yeah, especially if it's important. Some of these things you just can't really waver on. It's like, I need this particular implant for a reason. Yeah. Sometimes, if it's not a big deal, I'm flexible too.
Sure.
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
But if it makes a difference, then they're pretty reasonable at the centers I've been at. One thing I've really learned in private practice is understanding kind of where these facility fees and costs and all these costs associated with what the patient will be due, or what the insurance is really paying for. And a lot of that comes out of the facility fees, and pretty much all of it, right? All of it comes out of the facility fees. So they basically look at what your surgeries are costing in terms of implants and all the tubes and all the stuff, right? And then they get a certain amount of money for it, you know? And so they want to make those margins obviously as high as possible. So that's why I think, there's still people that are managing these things. And so that's why having a relationship with the people that are managing the inventory and the billing, obviously, it's just, I've become a lot more in tune with those people and having conversations about the processes for those things.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Otherwise, I was just at Cedars. I was like, what are we using today? It's just, what can I use it or not? So I wasn't really paying as much attention to those things. Right. It's helpful maybe for a younger surgeon when you're coming out, you want to try new stuff. And when you're in private, or there's less, now I just feel like there's fewer shoulder colleagues around. That's why I really like these meetings. Some people are coming to the meetings and say, I just want to hear what people have to say, like how they're treating things, right? Like what's the current state? Yeah, just to hear, like, oh, you guys are going through the same problems.
Right, exactly. And I think it's very important, especially coming out of training, to go to like an academic center or to a hospital where you can use what you're used to being trained with, because now you're going to be on your own, so you have to learn how to operate on your own. That's a big learning curve.
Yeah, it takes years.
Like being told by someone you have to use something completely different, like system-wise.
Right.
That's just...
I was worried about that when I first started. That's why I wanted to get the implants I was comfortable with on contract right from the start, at least to go from there. But there's been some cool technology here. There's this really interesting device. Actually, let me show you a little video of it. There's this company here called called Titan. I think it's called Titan Cam.
Okay.
This is the company. They have this cool little device. I want to see what you think about this. I took a little video of it. Let's see if I have it on here. This one? Yeah, here it is. So check this out. How this thing works, it's basically a range of motion sensor that you can get connected with. You sit in it, and then it's evaluating your range of motion of your shoulder. It's giving you exact parameters in space in the XY plane. And then it has resistance. So you use it as a therapy unit for patients. So you can also get the level of force that they're using as they're pushing across. It'll give you a force diagram and then give you an output on how much force they have in different planes of motion. I was thinking about getting one of these and putting it in the office and maybe using it as like an assessment device. You know how much this thing costs to get in the office?
I was going to say this would probably be super expensive.
Thousands, right?
Yeah.
It's $250 membership per month.
Oh.
And I was like, this could be very useful, valuable, to collect data, collect outcomes on patients, and just see how patients are doing. As you come in, say initial assessment, you do get a reverse shoulder, then we'll do this test maybe at 3 months in a year, and then just look. You can aggregate your data. They'll help you process the data. So something like this, I think, with technology expanding, we're getting this ability to get a lot more information quickly. And to consolidate useful stuff for our patients. I mean, this was something that I thought was really interesting.
That is.
What do you think about that?
That is interesting, but I think it's market dependent because being in Southern California, people like data and they're tech savvy. So you're going to tell them you're going to be 3 months post-op from rotator cuff or reverse. You should have this much force going in the forward plane and abduction plane. Yeah. And they're going to chase those goals because they want to be successful.
Right.
And then you can use it also as a marketing tool or, word of mouth, like, hey, Dr. Stone, he has this really cool device that I can make sure that I'm staying up to par with.
I think so too. I mean, if you can get a really accurate assessment, because one question I kind of ask everybody that I was going to ask everybody comes through today is, how do you really test a shoulder? Like, what's the best way to see how a shoulder is doing? Yeah,
I mean, it's hard because we sit here and we go through, PowerPoint lectures and patient has forward flexion of 160, abduction of 150, et cetera. But I think no one's getting out the goniometer and checking. Everyone's just kind of looking at it. I mean, we see.
I use my eyeball goniometer.
Yeah,
this is 90. Yeah, and then this is 45.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And then I kind of add them up. So but it's within 15 or 20.
Sure,
maybe.
Sure. But that's how we're all doing it.
Yeah.
So this would be a good objective.
I think so too, because I've definitely been measuring it. And I think just to institute something to check range of motion is kind of lame because range of motion correlates, but it's not everything.
Sure.
And I think if you're going to have somebody, like what's the other thing we really care about?
Well, function and then pain.
Yeah, well, pain, right?
Yeah.
But this won't assess pain, but strength.
Right.
That's what I was really interested in. Like, oh, this has resistance. So if you have resistance, you can test force. There's just not a lot of studies that are looking at strength after reverse, or rotator cuff. But rotator cuff is like they pretty much get full strength back. I tell people you're going to pretty much have a near normal shoulder.
What are you telling your patients? Like
as long as it
full
heals.
Recovery.
Got to heal.
Yeah.
Full recovery. So my timeline, and I try to speed everybody as fast as possible without overstepping, because I did that myself. I feel like I did too much too soon when I had my surgery. I had a revision repair actually.
Did you really?
Yeah, I retore it 4 months in. I was doing jiu-jitsu.
I was going to say you're jiu-jitsu.
And I was feeling good, and my biceps tore down. And I said, that's weird, because he didn't tendonitis it the first time. And so I re-imaged it. He's like, it might be retorn. And so he's like, well, you should probably repair just because your biceps. So we got back in there. I was like, dude, it was fully retorn.
Wow.
Like, you were a bad boy. So the next time around, I really was really careful, and I also was I pushed it. I competed in the IBJJF Jiu-Jitsu World Tournament in 8 months after surgery.
Okay,
and it held up really well, But I was at the point where I knew my strength had progressed. I could go compete, and if I wasn't, I was not going to compete. I was going to cancel. But my timeline, you asked, is I do 2 weeks in a sling with abduction pillow, pretty much across the board. And then I'll take the pillow off at 2 weeks, and I let them live their life. Or I say, keep the pillow if you're more comfortable for 2 more weeks. So just about a month in a sling. And then I start therapy on everybody at 1 month now, unless they're stiff or something, then I start them right away. But typically they'll be at a month. And then I do 5-pound limit for 3 months. Nobody gets more or less than that.
Okay.
So it's 5 pounds for 3 months. And I say you can do household stuff, just be careful with your shoulder and don't play sports and don't lift weights because you're just doing 5-pound rehab for 3 months. And then you take the training wheels off because the data shows it's healed enough at 3 months.
Yeah.
And just auto protect. Don't go crazy. Add on weight as you strengthen up to 10 pounds or more. If you're working out for your shoulders with 10-pound weights like this, you're strong enough for most things, right?
Yeah,
so then after that takes them 3 more months and they're at 6 months, and if they're ready to go back to golf by maybe 5 months, they can go. I have a return to golf program. It takes 1 week, like start slow, so then it's like sports specific activities between 4 to 6 months if you're ready. If you're not ready, it just takes longer. So that's like the accelerated protocol.
Gotcha.
Right. And so I tell everybody, this is what you can do. And then if they are not hitting those marks, right, then that's when you say, we got to intervene. Maybe there's an MRI we got to get. Maybe you retore something. Maybe you're developing a frozen shoulder. But even then, I don't take anybody back. Minimum 6 months, no way. Unless they have I've proven re-tear, right?
Yeah, 100%.
But then, after 6 months, you're pretty much good to go. If you're playing contact sports, then I recommend they don't do contact sports for 9 months. My jiu-jitsu tournament was probably pushing it a little bit, but Ayanadi's re-tear data showed 9 months is pretty safe. After 9 months, the re-tear rates are the same. So I just go based off of the literature and my own practice, and I feel like I have kind of worked my way through with that protocol.
Nice. Yeah, I'm telling my patients just like the normal everyday person, not the athlete, like anywhere from 60-year-old to early 70-year-old. Like you're gonna take 1 full year to fully recover. That's what I just tell them baseline, and then typically they get back
definitely maximum improvement a year.
Yeah. So, but usually about eight months for the total rehab. But
one thing that really got me, I would say, patients appreciate confidence, and confidence goes a long way. And then obviously if you can back it up with good results,
right.
The good results early on in my practice gave me a lot of confidence. Yeah. I trained with excellent surgeons at Rothman, and you just see case after case, and you see them go well, and then people do well, people are happy, and then that gives you confidence because you know how things can go. And if you're a surgeon that doesn't see those types of results, maybe there's something else there. Maybe you're doing some cases that you're taking on that are a little bigger. But when I started practice, one good piece of advice Serena Namdari told me, he said, don't turn away from any cases when you start. He's like, you can handle it. And he's like, if you don't do them when you start, you're not going to do them later. I think that was really good advice.
Nice. Yeah.
Just got me confident because I tried a lot of things out of my comfort zone.
Sure.
Yeah. And it's not necessarily always, hey, let's do some wild stuff. But, sometimes there was some pretty bad trauma that came through the doors,
Sure.
Some bad problems or revisions. I learned a lot from revision surgery.
Yeah.
Do you do revision joints?
Yes, I do, but it's very, very limited. I mean, it's kind of, I'm glad I don't have a ton of revision because we're not a tertiary referral center.
Sure.
But a couple of the bigger revision cases I've done, the hospital has come to me and said, you can't be doing those here. That's way too cost prohibitive.
That's the thing. They got to look at these things again. The billing is not keeping up to date with the type of work that we're doing now, and the revisions are becoming so much more common because there's more total shoulders going in every year.
Sure.
Every year, those numbers go up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's just interesting because you want to do what's right for the patient, but then you're gonna slug it out for 6 hours in a big revision case when you could have done 2 primaries and gotten paid significantly more and been less stressed, and so it's like. I don't know what the right answer is.
I don't think any of us do.
Yeah.
And there's legislation. It comes down to legislation and advocacy.
Right.
Hafiz, he's involved in AOS advocacy. Hafiz Qassam.
Yeah, I know him very well.
And he's just involved in a lot of stuff in helping surgeons, which is good. We should help each other.
Yeah, 100%.
Right?
When I cause
meet up with your friends, help each other.
Yeah, Hafiz and I were neighbors, so we talk, and he's always willing to.
Your neighbors with Hafiz?
Yeah, we all live in Huntington.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
he's a cool guy. I'm gonna have him on the show. I invited him to talk while we were here, but he's too busy, so he's gonna come out to my studio and do it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
nice.
so we'll pick a day.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like me, him, and Mike Charles were all like in.
Yeah, Mike Chuck.
Yeah, less than 1 square mile of each other.
Yeah, Mike Chuck's great. I did a residency with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know each other from back then. We all knew.
Yeah.
Okay, 2 more questions, or more. We'll see, because I know you got to go.
Yeah.
So what do you think the future of shoulder surgery, and kind of how does that go along with the future of medicine? Do you think we're going to be doing the same thing for 2 years, for 10 years? Or do you think things will kind of shift? And if so, how do you think that shift's going to come?
Well, I think I think a lot of the new stuff is going to become a technology and AI and adaptive AI. But like Dr. Satella said today in his presidential speech, is the machines are great, but we are far smarter than the machines because they only get the data from us, right? So pretty much what I took from that was don't become a monkey with a wrench and just do the same thing over and over. Push yourself to learn and to do research, because that'll keep us at the forefront. But then also the learning AI algorithms models will become that much better, and then patient outcomes will be better. So I think that's going to be the biggest change within the next probably five years. Is AI is really going to be involved with medicine. I mean, you look at these post-operative not protocols, but just platforms like My Mobility, where the surgeons can get like real-time data on patients with range of motion, or if they had a fall or something.
Right. After joint replacement, right?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's going to really take off in the next 5 years. We'll still be taking care of fractures and doing arthroplasty and rotator cuff repairs, all the soft tissue things. I definitely think we have definite job security for the lifetime of our orthopedic career, for sure.
Our minds are important.
Yes.
As surgeons.
Yeah.
You didn't think about that when you're younger. You're like, oh, surgeons, they just operate. No,
Yeah.
It's like you got to be pretty sharp. And we're the ones that understand the shoulder
100%,
the most.
right? Which is crazy. One of the fellow before me when I was at Penn, he when I came out, I was talking with him, and he says,
Who do you remember?
Josh Rogozinski.
Oh yeah, I remember Josh.
So he says you're the shoulder guy now. Like you're the smartest shoulder person in your area, so you're the go-to guy. And coming out, I was like, I mean, okay, sure, whatever you say. But then, like, you really are.
It's true.
And then, I mean, sure, you're just growing confidence in those first couple of years, but it's very true. Like that, and that's why these fellowships and coming to these meetings and then taking back what we learned in the community, because we are the shoulder people, the gurus.
Totally. And I want to spread that knowledge. I think what the foundation, the ASES Foundation, is doing is really good to really spread the concept of shoulder specialists to the younger generation, medical students. And really the only reason I went into shoulders is I had a good mentor who was like exceptional. Nobody else understood what he understood. I'm like, that guy's the wizard. Reza, Reza.
I know Reza really well. Yeah.
But yeah, he's just, and he was highly influenced by Itamura and other specialists. So, and they were influenced by guys like, Mattson and all the old timers, the original guys, the OGs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Question for you.
Yeah.
How do you?
I'll accept one question on the show. One question.
Especially being in private practice, how do you differentiate yourself in the public's eye from being a shoulder elbow surgeon from a sports surgeon?
Oh, in the public's eye.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good question, because what people want to know is how things are going to go. And if you are somebody who can treat the anatomy and the pathoanatomy from start to finish, then you're kind of an expert in managing them. Sometimes I want patients to go see a spine surgeon so they can not have surgery, or they can at least have a full assessment, and then they see the guy who says, I don't think I should cut on you, and then they feel much better, and maybe their neck pain gets better, but they have this degenerative problem, but at least they know now from the guy who can tell you whether or not we should be cutting, because you should listen to that guy.
Right.
And I'm that guy, for the shoulder. You're that guy for the shoulder and elbow. And I think there's a mixture of training in sports, because sports that type of training is based on sports injuries. And if you injure your knee during a game, then you see the sports surgeon. And if you injure your finger, he's got to figure out if he knows how to pin things or if he should send you to a hand surgeon. So they're treating sports injuries. So their training is just different. Yeah. And some sports fellowships they're shoulder heavy on education, because there's a high demand for shoulder replacements, as you know. But most shoulder replacements across the country are actually done by guys who do less than 10 a year, by far.
That's crazy.
Massive. By it's like about 80%. So that means most replacements are going in by people who might have done a sports fellowship or trauma, but they haven't done a shoulder fellowship, because if you have, you're doing more than 10 a year.
Yeah.
Clearly. And the studies show that the outcomes are better. How could you do, if you're a good surgeon and you're a sports surgeon, you do 100 replacements a year, you're going to have a good outcome with that surgeon, most likely, because they have a high volume, you know, unless there's something critically wrong with it. These days, that doesn't really happen, you know, because of the age of information. Everybody posts reviews online. But, you know, the clear differentiator is really the kind of that end stop. Like, this is what I'm going to tell you. And somebody else who's a shoulder specialist most likely will tell you the same thing.
Right.
And if not, it's because there's no consensus on this complex issue.
Right.
Right.
100%.
Yeah. That's my long-winded answer.
Nice. I like it.
So to follow up on that, then, you know, one thing you know, your work life, people talk about work-life balance, and I feel like that changes maybe year to year, decade to decade, depending on, you know, your training and how your practice is, and control of your life. You know, I think that's really important, and control of your schedule. So how do you find yourself as a happy surgeon? Like, obviously you like doing what you do, but how do you be how would you recommend somebody else going into surgery? They have high hopes and dreams and they want to be a happy surgeon.
I think it's all about your priorities and what you want in life, and for me, my priorities, it's like family and work. You have to find that balance. So I have clinic 3 days a week. I operate 2 days a week, and then I take call one week in a month, and then 2 other days of call during the week throughout that month. So the way that, like, I like to exercise. We're all like ex-athletes, so I like to exercise.
You just surfing this morning, right? Or was yesterday?
That was yesterday. Yes, yesterday. But typically, I'll swim in the morning before I go to work for an hour. So 3 days a week on my clinic days, I'll swim for an hour, and then I'll see clinic, come home, and then I'll either be home for my kids' softball practices.
It's important
for sure.
Yeah.
But my OR days are my OR days, and so sometimes those are long. Most of the time they're long days, but sometimes they're done early, and I try to at least be home to at least tuck the kids in, and then spend an hour with my wife just hanging out. So, and when I'm home, I really try to be home and present, because once I'm home, and especially the kids are awake, there's no more doing work. Like, work is done. Even though if I want to do work, it's not happening.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's just I try to really split work from home, and then I have an hour commute, which is very common in LA. Everyone's commuting, right? So I can knock out all the phone calls. Like, if I have to call my reps and talk about cases for the next day, this is what I do.
Efficiency.
Yeah, exactly.
Time management.
I don't have a Tesla, so I got to drive my own damn car.
But we need to be like that. We need to be like that. It's like, that's what makes me happy. Okay. Yeah. I got to be organized.
Yeah.
And then all the stuff, everything's fine. As long as everything goes perfect, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, dude, it's been so great talking to you. It's really good to catch up with you, man. And looking forward to seeing you next year.
Cool.
Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, appreciate it.
All right, man. And that's it on the LA Shoulder Podcast.